Well, this is probably the longest gap between any of my videos you've seen for some time. A gap of 20 days. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell has he been up to that's kept him off camp for so long? Well, I'll get into that. But first allow me to explain why I've not done any more of these videos. I have one of these. Bear me a second, it's currently plugged into my cable and I can't get it. Portable Wi-Fi. Now, it's designed for when I'm out and about, whether I'm in Tokyo, whether I'm on a Shinkansen somewhere, whether I'm halfway up a mountain watching a motor race. Basically, it'll allow me to have an internet connection of some kind, but it was never meant to be my actual connection. When I've stayed at the place I'm staying now in the past, I've hit Wi-Fi and job's a good one. Now, I know, courtesy of a friend of mine who's over here from England and staying here long term, that about 6 months ago they had to replace the routers here because one of them got damaged somehow. Maybe the Pixie's damaged it, who knows. Now, the problem is that I can connect to the Wi-Fi, but it comes up with no internet access. And I'm completely perplexed as to why. I've run a multitude of different fixes, I've run tons of virus scans, I've done absolutely everything. I even had the actual guys bring a second portable one you can plug into your own room box in, and that didn't work either. So I resigned myself to using the box. The one I uploaded originally took 2 hours for a 4-minute video. So, purely for that reason alone, I kind of decided to walk away from it and thought, well, I can do a recap one at some point in the future. Well, that time is now, because lo and behold, I was out in Akihabara and I found the store that sold LAN cables dirt cheap. And I was planning to get some LAN cables anyway, because at home my Wi-Fi goes to about half speed compared to wired cable. Well, it involves having to lug my computer down 3 flights of stairs and sit in a public lounge on battery, but it works. So, lo and behold, I'm recording this video and I will be uploading it to YouTube. Oh boy, this will be fun. So, what I will say in the interim is that this is going to be quite a long video. I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty of everything I've done, because some of it is not worth talking about. But to start, now on the first day I said there wasn't much to really say, apart from the fact that evening I caught up with my friend from Thailand, Amy, and her other half. They came over at the same time as me. They have slightly different tastes, and they had a guide of their own for the main parts of Tokyo. But we had a meal, a lovely nice steak dinner together, and they wanted to go outside Tokyo, and God help them, they enlisted me. I'll tell you more about that later, because that kind of worked, kind of didn't. I'll explain more. But before I did that, my mate who I say staying out there, Glenn, he was an idol fan of the main groups, likes of Low Project, likes of AKB48, Nice Girl Project, and so forth. Nowadays, he's not a fan of them, and he's very much into the indie idol scene. Basically, the indie idols are those who are on small labels and generally have a much more do-it-yourself ethic. And he said, well, if you're for something different, I'll take you to one of the gigs. So, second night in Japan, we went to Shinjuku Blaze, same venue that I saw the Possible, Kiko, Up Girls at in February last year. Before I carry on, just about to make you aware, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to have a beer, and since I didn't figure out the internet connection, I'm drinking an appropriately named one. Yes, idiot, that's me. Nice too, very nice. So, going back to what I was saying then, same venues where I saw those bands, but this was a group called Guso Drop. I'd never heard of them, but according to Glenn, they were like very rocky, very punky. And they also had, for around about 60% of the set maybe, they had a live band. Now that reminded me a lot of the group that pretty much got me into idol music, Bono, who I saw in Paris in 2012, alongside Glenn, just to show you how quickly allegiances shift. Now, the thing is, whereas Bono were kind of like mainly idol with the punky, rocky edge, Gusto Drop, complete 180. Very much rocky and punk with the idol edge. It was like taking the sound of something like Discharge, TSOL, Pennywise, mixing it with tech metal with the likes of Meshuggah, maybe Strapping Young Lad, and then having idols in front of it. It should have been a cacophonous, incoherent mess. It should have been shit. It was not. It was fucking brilliant. They just didn't give a shit. It was absolutely awesome music. Really, really great grooves and awesome incisive leads, great bass. The vocals, not brilliant, I must admit. You know, I've heard much, much better vocalists, but for that kind of punky kind of scene, that doesn't really matter. I mean, after all, look at some of the punk legends in the past, the likes of like Joey Ramone, the likes of Sid Vicious. Were they really good vocalists? Nope. So perfectly fitting, really. And I really got caught up in the music. I really felt like I'd gone home, way back to my rock and metal roots. It felt very much like I was at a dirty show at Academy 2 or Academy 1 in Manchester. I actually headbanged. For the first time in about 8 years, I headbanged properly. I don't mean like doing the odd, I mean proper trying to headbutt the floor, my ponytail whipping 8 people in the face kind of hair. It was absolutely incredible. And the best thing about it for me was that the crowd did so many different things. They had circle pits, slam pits, mosh pits, walls of death, headbangers, air guitarists, they had crowd surfers, they had people just stood around throwing king blades up in the air chanting oi oi oi. It was a complete amalgamation. And I get the feeling a similar kind of thing might happen when Baby Metal tore apart Sonosphere back in 2013. It's the same kind of crossover crowd. It was brilliant. Absolutely amazing. I can't really remember the titles of the songs. I don't care. The music was brilliant. And one of the reasons Glenn likes the indie idol scenes, I've just knocked my microphone out, I apologise, is the access. Allow me to show you what I mean. For someone who'd never attended the group before, anyone can do this, whether you're a native or an international. If you've never actually seen them live, you can sign up for the Gusto member thing. Costs 1,000 yen, which is not a lot of money. It's about 6-7 quid maybe. It's not a lot. And for that, you get something called communication tickets, which I've got somewhere around here, but I've mislaid them somewhere. They're in my room. I'll find them. They've not been using them as much of late, so they've not been as useful, unfortunately. But you can sometimes just go and have a chat with the members without anything extra. Just go up and shake hands, really like you, love your music, blah, 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 and whatever you want to talk to them about. But as well as that, you got to have one of these taken. Yes, that is me with the group. And this member here, Ray, is my favourite, who's a punky lesbian. As I say, they don't give a shit. Also, big props to the middle member here, Saki, known also as Double Hand in the solo things. She's really awesome too. And as well as that photo, also got to actually chat to all 5 members. Now, the shirt I was wearing there was my Garugamas shirt, which I got at their London concert back in 2011. Saw that, oh wow, Garugamas! I'm really surprised that I knew who they were. And yet it was at one of their shows, so it shouldn't be a surprise at all, but hey ho. So that was a lot of fun. If you're out here and you get a chance to see Gusto, do check them out. They're really, really good. But after that gig had ended, me and Glenn were stood outside the venue. Another punk foreigner by the name of Tommy also came over. Perpetually wasted, absolutely crazy, always awesome. He was having a lot of fun as well. And basically, while we were stood there, a singer from a double act idol group known as Zekio Series 60, everyone calls him Zekio because the other thing can really remember, called Kai, was stood outside the venue. Started chatting to us. Turns out she speaks pretty good English. So we were just talking for ages about groups, about what future career things she wants to do, and does she have any idea about English food and all kinds of bollocks. You know how it is when you've been in a sweaty gig for 2+ hours. You're just thinking, why am I stood here talking bollocks? And then you're also thinking, and why is she listening to me? That's the kind of vibe I got. It was still brilliant fun. Absolutely awesome. A lot of fun. Had a great time. After that, weekends afterwards, mostly did a few beer drinking, took in the sights of Tokyo in the first week. Then what I was doing after that was I was obviously planning to go to the World Endurance Race at Mount Fuji. I'll talk about that in a moment, because before I do, Glenn managed to drag me along to another Indie Idol event. Pardon me. Hopefully that'll soon make the click off. A group I can't remember the name of. I don't know who they are. He's told me the name about 20 times and it's never once got him. It's a really weird name. I don't know what it is. Never mind. And it was a venue in Akihabara, which you wouldn't know existed. You simply wouldn't know it was there. And we went down into this venue, and it was a proper dive. It was Academy 4 in Manchester. It was Julie's Rock World kind of. It was a proper dingy place. It was down onto steps, and you're in the venue, and there's maybe 150 capacity tops. It felt old school. I felt like I'd gone back to the early 2000s when I saw the likes of Amen and Spineshank in really dingy venues in Manchester. God, I'm showing my age now, but half of you don't even know those bands are, do you? And if you do know, you feel my pain. Oh, yes, you do. Anyway, this group were far more straight-laced idol music, which is fine. Never heard of them before, so I had no idea what their songs were. So I just planned to stand at the back of the venue and watch the gig. And Glenn, having been to multiple different things, as well as doing his day job, was feeling a bit tired too, so we had the same idea. But just at the back of a beer, chilling out, and the crowd were a lot of fun. Did a lot of mixing, did a lot of chanting, and generally just the usual stuff you see at idol concerts. And it was really, really good fun. But they had to ruin our plan, didn't they? Oh yeah, they weren't going to let us off that easy. Yeah, literally halfway through the gig, right, most of the crowd actually knelt down for it because the stage was that low that unless you were me size or Brian size, for those of you who know Brian, you wouldn't see much of the stage from the back. So half of them mostly knelt or sat down for the gig, which was interesting. Almost like being at a mass of some kind. But anyway, all of a sudden, halfway through the gig, I see these people at the front stand up and start coming backwards. And I'm just like, bit early for the concert to be over. And then I see Glenn going forward because they shouted some command, which I didn't hear. And even if I did hear it, chances are I wouldn't have understood it anyway. And all of a sudden, a Japanese fan just suddenly points at me and just goes, "Please go forward!" Yep. Like at a soccer game, the fans changed ends. It was literally, we ended up right at the front. Now, the funny thing about this was that obviously they knew Glenn, so they knew of him anyway. But I was there, and so they went, "Oh!" So they asked the crowd, who is here for the first time? And we decided to troll the band. I didn't hear the question, so I didn't put my hand up, but Glenn, taking the piss, was like, hee hee. And then a few Japanese fans who knew him did the same thing, and she's like, "No!" And then they went, "Who's foreign here?" Me and Glenn kept our hands down. All the rest of the Japanese crowd hands up. So the band were a bit annoyed that we just trolled them, but what the hell, it was like, have some fun with them. And they did one song anew. They covered Cute's Master of Blue Jeans. They changed it slightly to fit their name, but I don't know what their name was, so I can't talk the pun. Glenn, if you're watching this, put it in the comments and I'll add it in later. But anyway, rest of the gig was straight-laced. There was an interesting point halfway through where they made the crowd, or at least the crowd right in the very centre, kind of similar to what I was at Jiu-Jitsu back in the past. They got them to crouch over, so they're like almost like they're a pebble shape, and then a line of them, and the singers walked across them like it was a bridge, going across the crowd singing. It was innovative. It was something different, something I'd not seen before. So I was like, oh wow. I was just right next to the bridge, so I'm like literally hitting the first pebbles right there, and I'm looking up as they're going by and turning around. Oh, where'd they gone? Kind of thing. It was all a bit strange, but still a good experience. Really enjoyed it. Again, dirt cheap. I think it cost about 1,200 yen in total to go to that gig. That's one thing I will say. The cost disparity between the events for indies and the majors is unbelievable. You can really see a lot of the indies if you know they're there and you know who they are. That's one thing this trip's opened my eyes to. So after that, it was the Fuji weekend, as in Fuji Speedway. But before that, my friends wanted to go and see Mount Fuji before they left for Thailand. And foolishly, they'd asked me to help them. Now, because I was going to the raceway at Fuji, I already knew how to get to that area, thanks to the Fuji Speedway website. It was a case of Tokyo to Gotemba, and then from Gotemba, a bus to the track. So I thought, well, it's in the shadow of Mount Fuji. We'll do the same thing. Bad idea. Very bad idea. It turns out that it depends on what you want to do. Now, my friends, luckily for me, didn't want to actually climb Mount Fuji. The climbing season officially is July to August, and that's when traditionally groups go up all the time. You can go outside that period, but unless you're an experienced climber, they don't recommend it. And even then, the risk is not eliminated. Former Japanese Formula One driver Ukyo Katayama, he went up there in December, it was either last year or the year before, with 2 people to camp, and one of them actually was unfortunately passed away. It shows that it is very, very dangerous to go to such a high height without real backup and knowledge of what you're getting into. So if you are planning to come and climb Fuji, July, August is the best time because that's when the guides and the excursions are there, but be warned, it's very, very hot at ground level and very, very cold at the summit. So you'll be carrying a lot of gear in very hot temperatures. So do some circuit training or some military fit things before you do it is my advice, so you get used to lugging the weight around. I've not climbed Fuji yet, maybe in the future I will. But anyway, to climb Fuji, what you have to do is get to one of the stations around the mountain. Halfway up, buses stop, and then you get off and you carry on walking. Now, Gotemba is one of the more recent ones, and it's very much nothing there. And the buses don't operate unless they're at weekends or in the summer period. But luckily for us, when we got to Gotemba, we couldn't see Fuji on the horizon because the cloud cover was too low. Luckily for us, a bus station attendant gave us options to get a bus to a place called Kawaguchiko, which is the main hub for getting to Fuji. I now know that, and if you are planning to go to Mount Fuji, my advice is look for a Chuo Special Rapid from Tokyo or Kanda that goes to a place called Otsuki, and then from Otsuki you can get a Fuji mountain train that takes you to Kawaguchiko station, and from there you can then get a bus. Top tip. Far better than doing the Gotemba route, I can assure you of that. But when we got to Kawaguchiko, what was cool about it was that it was very much in a lake mountain resort kind of place. It was really, really nice. I've got a load of photos. I'll put them up on Photobucket and link them in here at some point later. But when we got out of Kawaguchiko, we were told there's a mountain nearby called Kachikatsuyama where you can get a cable car to about 1,100 metres, I think. 1,100 metres. And from there you can see Fuji in the distance. Now, we got warned that with the cloud cover we might not see anything, but we gave it a shot. It was a clear day at ground level, so who knows. Got on the cable car, and as soon as we got off, cloud had pretty much cleared. We had this beautiful view of Fuji from the distance, and it had the cloud halfway around it. It was it's almost like the rings of Saturn. Really, really breathtaking to look at. And of course, because we were that far away, we could also get some awesome shots of us and the mountain behind. And at the same time, on the east side, the actual Lake Kawaguchi is there as well, and that's surrounded by smaller mountains. So you can get some brilliant photos of you halfway up a mountain with the lake and mountains behind. So if you want that kind of like Rockies, kind of Colorado-esque kind of photographs and cinematography, Kawaguchiko and Kachikachiyama is a good recommendation from me. And to be fair, it wasn't that hard to get to from Gatemba, because there's a bus that runs every hour to Kawaguchiko, and then it comes back from Kawaguchiko to, it's listed as Gatemba Premium something. It's kind of like their shopping park, but the stop before that is Gatemba train station. So if you are going the Gatemba route, you can get there that way as well. If you're staying out that way, maybe. If you're coming from Tokyo, though, definitely go the Otsuki route is my advice. So after spending the day with my friends, I took them up the Shinjuku Metropolitan Tower, because they'd done Skytree during the day, which they liked. They thought it was really nice. And Skytree, to be fair, has changed. I'll talk more about that later on. But because they'd seen it during the day, I said to them, for free, I could take you to a place where you can see the city at night. And because it's not as high as the Skytree, you're in between all the buildings, so you can really see all the lights and everything. It's a beautiful scene to see. Tokyo Tower at night is also very good as well. Both highly recommended for that nighttime skyline photography. If you like that kind of thing, both of them get my vote. There's also a place called, I think it's called Central Tower or Central Plaza in Shinjuku. I've not actually been yet, and that's on the 53rd floor. So I'm going to try and get up there and get some images from that point too, just to show the difference. But either way, still a lot of fun. Now, they went back to Thailand before I went to the raceway, so I took them to the monorail to Haneda and waved goodbye. And I'm hoping I'll see you both next year, possibly even in Thailand, because I've never actually been. So who knows? Now, meantime, going back to the raceway, going down the Gatemba route again. That's very simple, because they had special shuttle buses. Now, they worked in an unusual way, whereas they start in the morning from Gatemba. I think it was like as early as 7:15, and they stopped about 12 noon. Then the ones back from the Fuji Raceway to Gatemba started at like 2 o'clock and ended at about, well, on the practice day it was 4:30, on Friday free practice, but then on the race day and qualifying they went as late as 8:30 at night. So for me, I did not stay anywhere near the circuit. I actually came back to Tokyo all 3 nights. If you've got a Japan Rail Pass, highly recommended you do that. Because Fuji Raceway is in the shadow of Fuji. Again, you can see Fuji from the circuit. And the great thing about it is the access. Once you get there on the bus, it's absolutely brilliant. You can go all over the place. Grandstands, they have the lower grandstands, which are free all the time. The upper grandstands, which you can get a reservation for if you want, only really got enforced on race day, to be honest. On qualifying and free practice, you could go where you wanted. And then in the race day, as well as the grandstands in the main straight area, you've got the one by the first hairpin, which was breathtaking to watch the prototypes. It was slipstreaming each other down into that was amazing to watch. But also you've got like the sweeping Coca-Cola band and the chicane bands. Loads of grass side places to watch as well. Really, really amazing fun. If you're into motorsport, I highly recommend checking Fuji Speedway out, because it's a really good place. The fans are unbelievably accommodating. When they saw that I was foreign, and also the couple I met there called Jess and her husband, I can't remember his name unfortunately, whenever they saw us, they were all really happy to see us and asking us where we'd come from and everything else. And it was cool to get that kind of interactivity. They're also very, very knowledgeable. So if you know anything about any other motorsport and they speak English, you can have conversations for hours. I did, coming back from the raceway. After the race ended, I sat on the bus talking to a Japanese fan about the Lotus and the Toro Rosso race engineer, James Key. Anorak moment for anyone out there in motorsport. I was talking about his career with him. I'm like, what? it was really, really cool. Really cool to experience. And the great thing about Le Mans racing is the different classes. The differences in speed and the difference in the engines, differences in the driving skills is extremely entertaining, especially when you see all four classes on 1 mile long straight at once. So you've got one car that can go to a top speed of over 200 miles an hour in less than 10 seconds, and then you've got one that can't get anywhere near that and will take nearly 25. And seeing them all trying to get out of each other's way while stopping from losing positions to everybody else makes it incredibly entertaining to watch. Highly, highly recommended. I do hope that I can come back here to experience it again at some point in the future. I'd love to do another race here in Japan. So absolutely brilliant. Really, really, really loved it. Now, after that, I saw my one and only Hello Project performance. I went to Nagoya to see Enjirimu Angamu Smilage. Now, ever since they changed their name and ever since their first gen kind of half split up, I've not really been a fan of them. I've not liked the direction they've gone in. I've not liked the music. Because it's just felt like it's a different band. When I was at that concert, it seems they do too. Because they didn't play anything from that first record. Anything from that first tour that I attended. So there was no Ski-chan, no Yume Mirror 15 Sai, nothing. Nothing like that. None of it was played. It was literally like that was a chapter that's been closed and they've moved on. And I watched them thinking, okay, well, I'm watching a different band. And they were quite entertaining. They had a great run at one point in the show where it was a live house show, so everyone stood up, there's no seating. And it was quite a low ceiling and large pillars everywhere. So again, it felt kind of like I was back in an academy gig. And it had this really nice run of a load of songs which had really dark electro to them. I didn't recognise any of them, so it wasn't any of the singles. And they had this really nice dark electro, really claustrophobic feel to the music. And I was thinking, this is really good. This is really nice. But then it ended too soon and it went back to all the over-the-top, childish, kind of music. And my interest wavered quite badly. They did one new song I recognised, which is their cover of Sally the Witch, which is quite entertaining, but again, it's still a bit too gimmicky and silly and childish. It just doesn't feel like the same band to me. So, it's interesting because I said the one only Hello Project concert I went to. I did also see Kikawa Yu. Now, she released her third album called You the Third. Why wasn't it called You 3? 1 for you, 2 you 3. 4 you, go you. Rocket writes itself. You don't need to change it to You the Third. What were you doing? Decent record and some good electro tracks, some nice ballad, but also some weird stuff. Like there's one which is an attempt at like kind of like singer-songwriter folk thing with nothing but acoustic guitars. It's horrible. Absolutely shit. But anyway, I went to a handshake event on the 13th of October in Shibuya, and Glenn came along out of curiosity. At first we thought it was going to be a mini live, but it turns out there was no live there. So I just said to him, well, that's fine, I'll meet you for a pint afterwards if you want, or you can wait for me and we'll go. Now Glenn decided to buy a copy of the album himself, and just to meet her and see what she was like. Now I went first. And she was very, very cold. Extremely so. I went up and I said, hey, we meet again. Mata Atana. I think I'm probably going to get slaughtered for my pronunciation there, but what can I do? And she was like, hey. And I'm like, I'm still one of your biggest fans from Europe and the UK. Oh, thank you. Come to my show. I was like, okay. What made this really odd is the way the actual event worked was that for every 1,000 yen you'd spent, you could only buy two things, an album for 3,000 and an album for 4,000. But you got like one ticket for each 1,000 yen. And you could either use one ticket for a handshake, which is what I did, 2 tickets to get a signed poster, 3 tickets for a signed for a Checky 2 shot. Now, if you give me a moment. like this. Or you could also use 2 to play her at a janken piano, and if you won, she'd sign anything in your possession. That sounds unbelievably inviting and open, doesn't it? That sounds like someone who's going to be properly welcoming anyone into her arms. She was so cold. Unbelievably so. Then Glenn was immediately after me in the handshake line. So he goes in and says, "Hi there, I've never met you before. My friend brought me." She went, "Oh, great, thank you. Please come to my concert." Glenn immediately gave me the rest of his tickets and went, "I'm not doing this shit anymore." So thanks to him, I got a second 2 shot. Now, you can see the rock pose in that one. What made this really interesting is I thought, so I went up and had my first one with the thumbs up and she was still really distant. And I was tempted to just go, I said, well, I just want to get rid of the tickets now. So I went back in for a second one and I thought, right, bollocks to it. I'm going to do a Go Goose thing. I'm going to do a silly rock pose. So we're both there like this. All of a sudden she falls out, starts singing Queen's We Will Rock You. Where was that before? What the fuck were you doing? I was there almost walking off my head in frustration going, that's all you needed to do. Get known for that and people will flock to you. I was really shocked and surprised. Very, very, very disappointed. And I never thought I'd ever say that about anything involving Kika Summer. Ever. But then, 2 nights later at Tower Records, I went with another friend to watch a mini live. And I get the feeling she's going to graduate very soon. I really get the feeling she's going to graduate. Her vocals were way off. She had absolutely no enthusiasm, and all she did was tell people to buy her stuff. The artist that blew me away at the likes of A Nation, the Poshy Poshy Girls events, the mini lives for a best of album, going all the way back to the likes of Milky Way, the time in Atlanta, that artist does not exist. She's not the same artist. And I'm sorry to say this, but she's got one more shot with me, and that's on Halloween. Because on Halloween, I've got tickets to 2 of her concerts as part of her actual tour. If she does not impress me there, I'm walking away. Because I've been very disappointed so far. And I will say that, I don't know, maybe it's the Indie Idol events. See what you get out of them for so little cost, and even if you do spend the money as well, if you spend a lot of cash, what more you get. To go and have that event with Kika cost 4,000 yen for that handshake and the 1 checky. Had Glenn not given me his tickets, I would not have got the second one. 4,000 yen that cost. When I went to Gusto Drop, it cost me less than 2. And I got this. I'm also seeing them next week at a birthday show of one of the members. By reserving with them directly, you get a free t-shirt. Cost? Maybe it's going to be 3,500 yen. It's still going to be less than the cost of that. And I think I understand now why people like Glenn and many of the other fans in Japan have walked away from the major groups. Because the reward and the payoff has diminished so much. I can truly appreciate that. And it's not something I ever expected myself to say. It's to the point now that, Kika had many lives after the one in Shibuya's Tower Records. I didn't go. No, I didn't go. I decided to instead go and check out places like Devilcraft in Kanda with Glenn and Wiz, craft beer places, and drink nice beers and chill out. I instead went down to Osaka to revisit the Kayakan Aquarium, which still blows me away with the amazing marine life they've got there and the depth of it and everything else. I've also got a gift for someone very special in the family from Kayakan Aquarium, but I'm not saying who, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. Another thing I will say is that I went to Kyoto. I went to check out the old capital, and I actually attended one of their temples and one of their ceremonies there. It was absolutely awesome. It was so peaceful. Like, you got to this temple and I got to the steps and this plastic bag saying take your shoes off. And it was then that I realised, I went inside and the interior just blew me away. All the ancient statues, which were like 8 foot, 10 foot high, the wonderfully 16th to 14th century wooden panelling and everything else, it was all mesmerising. And what I didn't know is there was actually a mass that day, so I actually ended up being there and attending that as well. Something I've never actually done in Japan, something I've always wanted to do. And despite the fact that I'm foreign, despite the fact that I can't sit in the Suwaru position for more than 5 minutes without my ankle breaking, no one cared. No one batted an eyelid. The only thing they'd say is, don't make any noise, don't take any photos. Didn't do either, and I was accepted warmly. Really, really lovely thing. Final thing I'll go over is going back to Guso Drop, is I went with Glenn to a gig in Otska, a place called Otska Heart, I think it's called, as the name of the venue. I'm not entirely sure. Kind of divish, but it was Guso Drop, Double Land, and Zekio. Now, I'd reserved with Zekio to reduce the cost by 500 yen. Glenn, can't remember who reserved it. Now, this was a great gig. It was absolutely brilliant because, as well as them three, there was 2 bands. There was one called The Geek Streets and one called, I think it was called The Love Light Orchestra, I think the name was. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, Double M was on first, and basically Saki from Guso Drop's solo stuff had a very almost alien/robot kind of stage presence, but good voice. Did loads of unusual things like forward gymnastic handstands and God knows what else halfway through it, and was a lot of fun to watch. Guso, after that was the Geek Streets. Now, because it was just like a bunch of guys with musical instruments, I was just going to watch from the back and go, whatever. They were hilarious. They were brilliant. They were basically a punk band, and they knew that most of the fans were there for idols. So they took the piss and started doing all the idol stuff, started doing all the idol poses and everything else and saying, we are not idols, and all this kind of stuff. It was really good fun. And they channeled like the inner Sex Pistols, inner Ramones in them by playing like dirty, proper low-down punk and, not giving a fuck, and everyone just having an absolute blast and laughing their heads off. It was great. Not exactly expected at all. Guso Drop came on after them, and they were just as good as I've ever seen them before. But I actually watched them from the very, very front. Now, again, going back to the access thing, at a Hello Project concert, if you get the front row, you'll be here, and the stage will be way out here somewhere. Loads of room between loads of security. When I watched Guso, I was at the stage. There was a little barrier, and every time I headbanged, I nearly headbutted their monitors. It was that close. It was a proper academy gig. It was really old school. I'm really trusting that the fans do not do anything, which is a big ask, but the fans delivered. It was brilliant, brilliant fun. More tech punky stuff, which was superb. Then Zakio came on, Kai's band. I'd never seen them actually perform. They were a lot of fun. A bit more toned down than Guso in sound, but they used like sort of BDSM-ish kind of moves on stage, bizarrely. Like, they both wore like leather pieces and masks, and after the show, when you could get the photos with them, one of the members was like having photos taken where she stood on people's heads when they lay on the floor and all this kind of stuff, which was very dominatrix of her, which was kind of cool. Kai's not the one who does it. Kai's more open, a bit more submissive. But again, their sound was like in between, like, like light punk and idol. And there was some interesting moments. They had like a move where the fans do 3 different, like, during the costume, they do 3 different moves/dances. One involves miming being a surfer. The other involves sort of like arms otage, and then the third one can be anything. Although this version we saw, they made like an extended version and did the chorus about 8 times, so God knows what happened. They ended up like going with circle pit dances and then a wall of death and then a stage rush, and it was just, what the fuck's going on? Absolutely brilliant. The light orchestra band who headlined were kind of like a prog band. didn't really take to them, but musically very gifted. And after they played, like, Seki came on as double hand, did a song with them playing her song live, Zekio did one, and so did Guso. So everyone did, like, you know, a jam kind of thing together, which was really, really good fun. To show the difference in checkies though, first one with double hand, signed, and then one with Kai, signed. Total cost for each, 1,000 yen. Both of them half the cost of the album. I'm going to keep on beating on this like a dead horse. But yeah, they're not famous, but you don't get them because they're famous, do you? You get them because you like them. And I had a lot of fun that night. I had a lot of fun, and it's kind of almost turned me off a Low project completely. It's hard to believe. I never thought I'd ever say that, but it's just how it is, isn't it? Sometimes you get to a point and you think, yeah, you have the epiphany and you need to move on. But that was a lot of fun, and afterwards, me and Glenn was planning to come back to the apartment and sleep, but no. Fans said, please join us for a few beers. So it started out, and it was like me, Glenn, and a few of the fans of Sekio sat down. We all ordered beers, and I was asked to lead the cheers. Before that, though, one final thing. During Zekio's performance, I was grabbed on the arse twice, and I'm clinging on his throat going, let go, what's going on? Third time, I felt like 4 arms grabbed me, and before I knew what was happening, woof. Yep, I was pulled up and I was crowd surfed. For the first time in 10 years, I crowd surfed at a fucking Idol concert. My life is so weird. Right. We're going back to this Izakaya thing afterwards. We all had been, I was asked to lead the cheers. Knowing practically fuck all in Japanese, I just did a really terrible pun. Shoot me now. I just went, Gankai. Just let the booze wash over me. Yes. Comedian, I am not. But the rest of after that, though, the fans from all the other groups came in, and we ended up absolutely taking over this place in the back room. There's about 30 to 35 of us, all just sloshing tankards of beer together, all gorging food, swapping God knows what stories about what kind of bollocks. And then Kai joined us, actually sat at our table, drinking beer and eating foods with us. One of the actual performers. Now, you see all that all the time in the likes of punk and the likes of metal and the likes of everywhere else, but never seen it in an Idol show before, because it's normally too sanitised. And I think that's what my eyes have been open to while I've been out here, that all the HP and AKB and all that, they're too sanitised. You don't have that sense that anything can and will happen, and that has really ticked a box with me. But that's pretty much what I've got up to. Concerts, beer, long voyages, beer, concerts, long voyages, beer. Motor racing, beer. Friends, beer. Nothing ever changes, does it? So, in conclusion, I'm having an absolute blast. I'm sorry I've wasted so much of your time here. It's been an absolute marathon. I did say one thing earlier on. I did say I wanted to talk about the Tokyo Skytree final. That's one final thing I want to go into. When I came in 2013, you had to queue the normal way, which was you'd turn up and you got given a ticket. They'd be like, here you go, give you a ticket. And say you got there at 1 o'clock, chances are it'd say, please queue at 4. And then you'd have to queue for ages and go up. Not now. If you are foreign, you can choose to pay an extra 700 yen. And what you can do is, in the west entrance, there's a special foreigners queue. And when I went, it took less than 15 minutes, and you are immediately taken to the checkpoint to go up to the elevators. It cuts about 4 hours off the day. So if you want to go and check the Skytree out, I think they finally woken up that they were charging too much. And I mean, when I went, I think it was 3,000 yen just to go to the main deck after queuing all the time. Even with the special foreigners ticket, it's now only 2,800 and odd. I think it's something daft like 2,820, I think. You can get there straight away. So if you want to do the Skytree, it's now more viable and a lot easier. So if you've never been before and you want to check it out and you're a foreigner, they say you have to be here visiting on tour. There's an easy way to check that. Open the passport and check the visa. They didn't bother. They just asked what country I was from and I went UK. There you go. And that was it. I could have lived it for 5 years for all they knew. So the chances are, and also, if you've got a Japanese friend who's taking you, they can also qualify as long as they're listed as your guide. So you don't even have to split up from your friends if you're over here speaking people you know. Speaking with people I know, going back to Smile Agent Nagoya, sorry to mention this as an addendum, but I also met up with Mao for the first time since last year. Still as awesome as ever. Still speaks way better English than I do Japanese, and both of us know we're not very good at each other's language, so we're still getting over that communication barrier 6 years on, but what can we do, eh? It's still good fun. In conclusion, having an absolute blast. I'm going to master this together, and then I'll put this online for you all to enjoy at some point later on today. As for what's going to happen today, I don't know. The world is my oyster. Until next time.